So good evening, everybody, and I'd like to welcome you to this evening's webinar. We are doing creating a team of officials. My name is Claire Dowdall, and I am the development officer in charge with the remit of referee development and player welfare. I do have my colleague, Garode, on with me this evening. He's our monster, GDO. You want to say hello there?
Good evening, hope you're all well. And I'll just be, my role for this evening, I'll be communicating from the chat. So any of your questions or responses you have in the chat, you can put them in there throughout, any questions you might have. And then other questions that you might have, like Claire mentioned, you can put into the Q&A and we might be able to, we'll address those towards the end. So that'll be my role for this evening. So
hopefully you'll all get something out of it. We do have Gary Owen McMacken on with us this evening too. Gary Owen seems to have just had a bit technical difficulty and he's just come off there, so I see he's joining us again now. But Gary Owen is one of our national referees. He's been refereeing for ladies football for years and he has huge amount of experience. He refereed the All-Ireland final, senior final in 2019, I think is correct. But 2018, sorry, the COVID stole years on me, Gary Owen. But he has a huge range of knowledge and he's going to go through us and give us hopefully some practical experience and elements about creating a team, and hopefully he's have lots of questions. So welcome, Gary Owen, and thanks for joining us.
No bother, Claire, thank you.
So what are we going to get through tonight? So outline how to build a team, create trust, develop clear roles and show support. Ensure clear communication to create the right team of officials, and demonstrate the importance of teamwork. So that's the three areas we're going to cover in tonight's webinar. So what I always do to try and get everybody in the mood and get us going is, first of all, I'm going to start off with a poll, and it's nice and easy. What officials does the referee select themselves? So what officials does the referee select themselves? Is it A, the umpire, B, the lines people, fourth official, or none of the above? So what do you think? Nearly everybody in voting. 13 out of 15. 14. So what a great way to start the evening. I'm just going to end it and I'm going to share the results here so we can see what officials does the referee select themselves, and 100% have went with A, an umpire. So that of course is correct. One of the main roles of the referee is involving their team is they select their own umpires, and that helps them create their team around them. B, what colour of jacket should an umpire wear? So who knows this one? What colour of a jacket should an umpire wear? So is it A, black, B, green, or C, white? Hopefully we get all 100%. So 15 out of 15 again, you can see there 100%. The colour of jacket that our umpires wear are white. So they have their uniform and it is white. White jackets or white rainproofs and white jackets, rainproof jackets. And the last one of these, do you currently have a team of umpires in place? So sitting here tonight, do you currently have a team of umpires in place? So that's good. I'm just going to share the results here, probably more than I thought. So 73% of us do have a team of umpires in place. We still have those that don't, 27% don't have. So hopefully we can get some really good shared learning on here this evening. And I want to just kick us off with the last question. If you please use the chat function for this and we'll see what we come up with. What do you think is the key ingredients for creating a team of officials? So a lot of you said you've had a team of umpires. So what do you think is the key ingredients for creating a team of officials? If you fire it in the chat there, we'll have a look.
We have trust in your selections, willing to speak up, communication, reliable, knowing the rules, trust and confidence, trust again, communication, reliable, knowledgeable, professional, trust and communication, and enthusiasm for the game.
So a lot around trust there, you know, which is obviously a huge aspect involved in it all. So that's coming back, and professionalism. I like that one coming in there as well. And I suppose I'm going to throw this on to Gary on. You're obviously refereeing a long time, both club level, provincial level, national level, and you have your own team of officials. What do you believe is the key ingredients for creating that team, Gary on?
I think the first one, the most important one, is trust. That you can trust the people that you're working with. They must look at players. Obviously, they have to be reliable. They have to be committed. They have to be able to give the job, the commitment. They need to be honest. They need to be good communicators. So what they're trying to get across, they need to be doing that effectively. So I think there are 4 or 5 of the main ones, but trust is a big one.
Yeah, and hopefully, Gary, you can share some more about that to us later on when we talk about trust, because I do think it's a really important aspect for any team of officials. So it's great to see that, and you can see it there. The key ingredients for creating. So when I'm talking about creating a team of officials, something I put in there as my first one, and it was the question mark, and it was ask. Sometimes people come and say, you know what, I can't get any umpires, or you know what, I don't know what I'm doing here or what element of it. And I would say, you know, you got to ask people to get involved. So you got to say, would you come and umpire for me? You have to ask friends, you have to ask family, you have to ask people in your club. And the other people you can ask is other referees. You know, have you any umpires that you think would be used, or do you know anybody? But unless you ask, and usually that's the first step of actually communicating across, is how you ask somebody to be involved in your team and what message you're delivering to them when you're asking. You also need to look for people that have a knowledge of the game, because you want somebody that's interested and knowledgeable. And I'm not saying that don't have to come in to knowing every rule in ladies football. That's not what I'm saying, but to have a knowledge of the basics of the rule, because you can train them and teach them the rest, and we can train and teach them the rest of their role. But they do have to have some sort of knowledge and enjoyment. You have to be able to build a relationship, and that comes down to a huge amount of, I think, coming into the trust. You have to build that relationship with them on and off the field, so that when they say something, you can go with it. You must be a confidence builder. There's too many times everybody's knocking each other down. You need somebody to have your back. You need to build their confidence, learn from mistakes, be good at problem solving, and move forward. And Gary once said it, communicators, you must be good at communicating, how you're delivering the message to them and how you're getting feedback back and forth. And the big one that we already touched on was consistency, I think, and trust. You have to have trust. Somebody that you believe, when they tell you this, that you know that it's in my best interest. And one that probably hasn't come up is somebody with some sort of like outstanding character. And what I mean by that is somebody that has good morals, somebody that's in there to watch and play a fair game. You know, that it's about the two teams involved, that it's not about them, that they have good character about them, even if good character way they maybe talk to people and greet people, and that goes down from stewards to people assisting them on the game, to players, to managers. So, you know, there's a good bit of character around them. And I think these are the key ingredients of creating that team of official. But I will say, you know, you have to start off by asking people and show them what vision you have going forward for your team, and that can help bring them in. So I always like to start with some definitions, because tonight's webinar was on creating a team of officials. So I just always think it's very interesting. Bring something into existence. So that's the essence of what this is tonight. You as the referee are trying to build something in and around you. The team is 2 or more people working together, and that's essential. That is cornerstone. Everybody is trying to go in the one direction. You know, we're all pulling in the same direction all the time. Official, a person having official duties as a representative of an organisation. So you have a big role to play. You're there as an official, and that has its own weight on it. And if it all goes well, you can be in that picture one day as well that you see there in Croke Park. You see Gary Owen, he's in there, Adam himself. I think that was the year Brendan Rice did the All-Ireland, but you've got to have this whole team around you. It isn't just one person. That's how you create it. You create a whole team in and around you. And the referee is central to that team moving forward. So your team, I'm just going to go through your team of officials. I've included everybody here. I've said here the referee centre to that. And he is, or she is, sorry, whoever the referee is, they're the central. The team is around them, but they need the team to work. So the referee appoints their own umpires. So they have to look out for who they want, who they trust. That's their team to bring with them. That's something that's in their control. What's not in their control in nearly every occasion is who their lines people are. So the lines people is usually appointed by the governing body. So for us at national level, we appoint the lines people. At provincial level, the provincial council, and at county level, it would be the county board. So they usually appoint the two lines people to run the line. The fourth official, we would usually only have for championship games, and again, they're appointed by the governing body. And the big one, the score assist, which I've put in here as well, only happens for live TG Cahir games. So they are a part of the team, and that's a fully trained referee with a lot of experience, and they would sit and watch the video replays on the score assist. But it's only in action at national level at televised games, live televised games. But that is a referee's team of officials. And as I said, what the difference is, the referee appoints one element of it, their umpires, and the governing body appoints the lines people. And Gary Owen, there is a difference, you would agree, between your umpires and your lines people?
Oh, there is, of course. Well, you see, the umpires would be the ones that you'd be with every evening, you'd be with you regular, you know. The lines people, as I said, or as you mentioned, Claire, are appointed either provincially or nationally. So you actually don't know. Sometimes you don't even know until you turn up on the day, the people that you're actually working with. So obviously the umpires, your 4 umpires, or as I put it, 7 or 8 men, regulars. So again, they're the people that you work with on a daily, every second or third night. So you'd be more used to working with those than the lines people. Let's say.
And would that change your briefing, Gary Owen? So you arrive to a championship game, you have your umpires with you, you're all prepared and ready to go, and then you walk in and you find out, these are your 2 lines people. Does that sort of change how you would brief your team at the start of a game?
Oh, it doesn't, no, because look at every day. Every day is a different day, you know. So you have to, regardless of what game you're doing, be it club or be it county, you have to have a briefing with the officials that you have on the day. So you always need to check in. You have to obviously talk to them. What's expected of them? What do you expect of them for the full hour? What's their role? What do you want them to be communicating into you? Like, you need to, every day you need to brief them so that they know what you expect of them, and therefore they know then what to feed back into you.
And I think that's a brilliant point, and that just brings it on to my next point. You're always creating that team. So although you have these regular guys that you're always with you are going to go into instances that you might know people that are involved in your team, and having clear communication and being open and honest with them is going to help start building a relationship moving forward. And I think that's always really important when you're trying to build a team, is involving that relationship. So I'm going to ask this question out to you now. How can you get your team to work together? That's a key question. So you're the referee. How can you get your team to work together? Any thoughts? Stick them in the chat.
A few coming in now. Communicate, as mentioned, as you mentioned, Claire, use the briefing. Rules refresher is a good idea. Practice. Brief them on what's expected so they're all working off the same sheet. Expectations. Instruction, communicate, advise position, roles, make sure they know they're all being treated equally. Understand the rules and to go over the rules you expect that they need help with. And normally you will know who your team is beforehand, so a phone call or a meet-up if possible. Evaluate after the game and give them the rules book.
Yeah, so some really, really good points in there. I think revolving it all, and I suppose I'm going to put that over the Gary on. You have a team that you work with, so how do you make sure you get your team working together on match days? It's something you would do all the time.
Well, I would say, well, let's say I'd always send out the text to my lads, let's say on a Monday evening. So basically you're preparing a week in advance for whatever games you have, be it midweek or be it the following weekend at national level. So basically they're getting back to you as regards their availability. So straight from the Monday evening, you're getting tuned in to whatever games you have for the week. So basically you'd be keeping record of whatever umpires you have. So then come the time you'd be checking in with the boys maybe a night before a big game. You're basically going through with what you're expecting of them on the day. Look at these fellas would be regular. These fellas are they're well experienced, so you don't really have to go through too much. So it's a lot of it would be done on the match day, Claire, on big days, let's say. So you'd be just going through as soon as you'd arrive at the venue. You'd be going through. You'd be obviously we'd take a walk of the pitch, and the lads would see what post we're working at, what two are working together, and basically who's picking up the green flag, who's picking up the white one. What you're expecting.
Just on that, would you dictate who's doing that, or would you let them settle that amongst themselves? Like what
I would
do first?
Look at the lads that I have, and thank God I'm very, very lucky. The lads are very experienced, so be it green or white, I always leave it up to the boys. And to be honest, they normally pick the same flag every day to go out. You know, it just depends on what four boys are on duty on the day, Claire, you know. So again, I just like to see, because sometimes you could land at pitches that you haven't been on before, so you mightn't be familiar. Is there much space behind the goal? Just small things, you know. So you just need to check, you know, who's doing what post, that the flags are there, that the netting, again, another small thing is just make sure that the netting is right, that the netting up around the crossbar is right, just to make sure that everything is right. You can't leave anything to chance. So that's basically what we do. We arrive in great time so that everybody is all well settled and that you can prepare then for the game ahead. But it starts from the Monday, let's say, before the game, as regards the availability of the umpires for the days, and the big one then at the weekend.
Perfect. We have a question in there for you, Gary. Do you keep things regular, as in your same person always keeps your backup score and another time, or do you rotate it?
No, there'd be one fella would normally be the scorekeeper, so he'd be on the scorecard and he'd be on the clock as well. So there's one man, he normally does that, and he'd be always fairly regular attender on the big days as well. So he'd be the man on that job.
Very good. And I've one more question. Do you have a ranking system for your umpires, or is it first come, first serve for a game?
That's a very good question. No, to be honest, as mentioned, I'm very, very lucky. So I'm pulling out of seven reliable fellas for, let's say, a national level, out of another one or two that would help me locally and regionally here at club level. But out of the seven men, you could pick any four on a given day and they wouldn't let you down. So I'm very lucky in that regards. But it's just experience. Now, you do like to rotate them. You like to give fellas weekends off. Some with family commitments and work commitments, it mightn't be easy to get the same for all the time. So look at it, it's no harm to rotate. Fellas, give fellas a break on that there. So no, I'm very lucky that I can pick any four out of the seven on any given day, and thank God they haven't let me down yet.
Perfect, thank you, and good questions as well in the chat.
So that brings us on to the teamwork, and I think, Gary, you actually just summed a wee bit of it up for me there. Give them responsibility. So I asked you, do you select who's on the green flag, who's on the white flag? And you said, no, I let them. And to me, that's being a part of a great team. They have some responsibility to themselves. Yeah. Feel like they're a part of it. Feel like they're a part of the decision making involved and used as a group. And I think that's really important, to keep people involved. That feeling that they're in it with you. So you must support each other. And that means always having each other's back. And support goes both ways, for the good and the bad days. And when you've made a mistake, that you're strong enough to say, look, that was a mistake. Or when you're made the best decision ever, you're strong enough to praise them for it. So it goes both ways. Discuss decisions. I can't really emphasize this enough. As to be a strong team and to be a good team, it's important that you discuss decisions, that you discuss ones that you think you might have been caught out on, or areas you feel as a team you need to improve on. Because as a referee, you are judged on your team of officials. So it's really important that you discuss and you learn together, you know, as a team. Set an example through your actions and attitude. This is something that I really love. If somebody says to me about a leader, I would follow somebody who leads by doing quicker than anything else. That's just me personally. And I think if you set an example through your actions and attitude, then your team will follow suit. So if you keep your standards high, if you keep your preparation, that you're always organized, you're on time, you're looking at your rules, you set the tone, and they'll follow with your attitude and your expectations. Ensure the standards are met. This is what you expect, and they're met, and you're keeping your standards high. You problem solve. So again, you're shooting it together. Any problems that arise, you're working on it, you're looking for solutions, you're not letting it get on top of you. You reframe that. If something doesn't go to plan, let's use this as an advantage for the next day. Or you're thinking of something, right, guys, do you remember there in 2018 there was a day like this and we were caught out because of the way the wind blew or the way the rain fell? Let's have another action plan. We're going to do it a slightly different today, hopefully that we don't run into the same problems. Problem solve, use your experience. And the big one that people might laugh when I put this down here, one of the biggest elements with creating a team and having teamwork is socializing and socializing with each other. If you can create a bond within that team and a social bond, you know, as well as being there on the pitch, it's going to work a lot easier for you in terms of your communication, in terms of you all getting enjoyed, in terms of all the fun. But socializing and taking that time to really get to know each other, so you know if somebody's having a bad day or you know there's something going on, that you can support them through this. And I just sort of looked up this quote. It just really jumped to me, and I think it's really relevant. To build a strong team, you must see someone else's strength as a complement to your weakness and not a threat to your position or authority. And I think that's really important for referees. To have a strong team around you, you have to see their strengths and complement them. You know, don't see it as a knockdown. Try and create that openness. And I don't know if you have anything on that, Gary, on the teamwork element.
No, I think a lot of it, Claire, is the personalities of the people you're working with. The people have to be approachable. They have to have a personality that you can actually, you know, get on with them. Again, look, if you can't get on with people, it's not going to work. So you need to be, I would say that's very important, that personality is very, very important. If somebody has an approachable personality, you can work with them. You know, that's the way I'd look at it.
Yep, definitely. So I'm going to show you this wee video, and it's called The Power of Teamwork. And let me know what you think about it in the chat. What do you think of that? All our little insects working together. I suppose for me, the message you sort of want to get out of it is you need everybody if you want to get the drink in the end. And it goes exactly the same for a referee or anybody. If you want that finished article, everybody has to row in. You standing alone, you won't be able to do it, but together you're a far stronger support. Everybody has their own role to play in it. You can see it really clear from there. They had it well planned and well executed, planned for it. but they all had to have their individual jobs. And I just think it's excellent the way that they all came together to achieve their goal. And I think you, the referee, when you're creating your team, you have to look at it like that. You might be the person in the middle blowing the whistle, but without that whole team around you, it can be very difficult. And you really, really need them to help you get up to the, you know, the next level.
Yeah, some nice comments in there. Different characters, different skills, communication and common goal for the same result. Each person is important and it won't work unless all are there. We are all different, but team together to get the bottle to open. Made me smile. It's smart thinking to get what they wanted, worked as a team.
Yeah, and I think that sums it up, really. We're all very different, but we need everybody sometimes to get an outline of a goal. We're not in it alone, and it's about everybody, the power of what can happen if everybody works together. And all the insects really wanted a drink of that Coke, so they were definitely going to do anything they could to get it through. So we're going to talk about your team as well and the importance of appearance. So an umpire that you have, you know, their standard uniform is black trousers, shirt and tie for males, shirt or blouse for females, dark shoes, official umpire gear where possible. So Gary, what do you think so important about the appearance of your team?
Well, the thing about it is, Claire, when you're landing, especially on the big days, if you're landing and everybody shirt and tie, pair of black trousers, pair of black shoes, you look the part. You look as if you mean business. You look as if you're ready for what the day is going to throw at you. And the presentation of it is vital, especially now, you know, when you can't travel together and with your umpires in the car. So everybody needs to be arriving at a venue and they need to be looking the same, dressed the same, their jackets the same, everything. It looks the part. It looks as if you know what you're about, you know your job, and look, you're there to be reckoned with. As the fella says, there's two teams involved on the pitch, but the officiating team, the referees team, that's the third team, and that's to us, that's what we're there for. So we're as equally as important as any of the two teams is playing on the day. So we need to be right. We need to look right, and to be honest, we need to do our job right and to get the decisions right on the day.
Definitely, and that all helps with it. You know, you look good, you feel good. I always think. So I'm just sort of going to dive into a wee bit about creating a team. I think we've touched on a lot of the aspects around it. So I'm just going to go into the one I touched on earlier. Ask. So who do you ask? People to join you. How do you ask them? So you have to make sure you communicate in a good way. And I advise that you ask in a lovely, polite way, and you do a bit of homework before you ask. You're not just randomly asking any Tom, Dick, or Harry. You know what you want. So you would go to your club first of all, people that have a grow and an interest in the game, your local area, family. You know, the family never let you down. And something people don't really tap into is teachers. Teachers are excellent. They have such great communication skills. And a lot of them are taking football and stuff in school, and they might just be really interested. And up-and-coming referees, or referees that are only starting their journey, would only love to come an umpire to learn. So there are sometimes an untapped talent is up-and-coming referees. And the big one that people usually forget about is the ex-player. You know, sometimes people retire from club football and then they don't know, maybe they don't want to go into coaching and they don't know, but they never ask. And that's the big thing. I think if we don't ask, then people never come forward. So that would be a big message for me. You have to pick out and you have to be brave and ask these people to come along. As I said, knowledge and interest in the game. And then when you have that, you got to train your team. So this is important. Once you've got a team, okay, folks, you must train them. So you have to try and encourage them to know the rules. You know, the official guides online, the referee digital handbooks online, the rule book for playing rules for 2021. You know, get a copy of them. When life's back to normal, they're in the car with you, and you should be going over rules in the car, or what would you do in this scenario, or are you confident with this rule? Making sure your whole team are really confident. The more confident they are in the rules, the better it is for everybody. That you have them in place, that their safeguarding's done, and they're fenting, so that all stones are unturned. There's regular umpire training in the provinces every year and nationally. So every 2 years, you're asking them to refresh that. And that's simple. You know, every 2 years they have to refresh their umpire training. So that's something you as the referee are in charge of looking after. And probably during this time, COVID checks, you know, they're your team, so you got to make sure they're COVID compliant as well at the moment. The big one is support. What do you need? It's really important. What support do you need from the team? And that they know that that's what you need, and that there's feedback, and feedback both ways. And that's vitally important. You can feed back to the umpire and say, look, I wasn't overly happy with your positioning today, or I think you need to be a bit clear on your signals. But in the same way, you have to give them an opportunity to give you feedback and say, how do you think I went today? Because you have to grow that bond of trust amongst you, and that can be done through feedback. Inspire, have common goals, you know, values. As a team, we want to be better. So if you create that and pull it in as a team, what do we want to achieve as a team? You can say, you know, as me as a referee, I want to achieve that I referee the county final this year. You know, so you're all thinking, right, as a team, we want to get to be able to come out in county final day or provincial final day or whatever your goal is. But it can also be smaller goals, like as a team of officials, we want to make sure that we don't miss any yellow cards. So we're all checking to make sure, or we're going to really clamp down on over carrying. So we're going to really watch out to make sure that I don't miss any over carrying. Let me know at halftime if you think I missed over carrying, or you know, set your own, inspire them to come up with things that you want to do to get better. Reflect on wee bits of areas of your game that need improvement, and you want to do it. Reward, and this is one that people it's really important. Appreciate the commitment and the time away from home with the travel. There's a lot of time involved for the referees and for their umpires. You know, they're away full days. So I think it's important that you appreciate it, even if it's with a thank you or making sure that you're stopping and they're getting a decent feed. It's really, really important. And people, choose the right people. And this is important. They reflect on you. So you can't just be happy to say, okay, Tom, Dick or Harry, come on ahead here. You know, you have to pick the right people because they reflect on you, and it does take a bit of work to get it right, but when you get it right, you can grow your team so quickly. So on that, Gary, on creating a team, you know, do you want to have a wee quick chat and, you know, how you have created a team of officials and how you done it?
How I did it here was I went to the club first, you see, because I'm originally a Monaghan man. I'm not originally a Mayo man at all, but I actually went to the club first, and they would have given me 3 or 4 lads at the start. But then when you'd start doing club games and local local juvenile games, local adult games, you know, you'd start meeting people from other clubs as well. So look at I'm very lucky. I have three regulars from my own club, but I have 5 other lads that I would use from other clubs, from neighbouring clubs. So it's just look at it can happen very, very irregular that you could pick up a fella on a day. And the way I'd see it is, especially at the start, you'd see fellas that'd be umpiring at games. You know, the way every club would have 1 or 2 or 3 men that they could rely on a day to do a job, be it a lane or, you know, umpire on the day. And if I saw somebody that could add value to my team, or if I saw somebody that was very good at their job, they knew what they were doing, that's how I would have got at least 4 or 5 of the lads player. I would have, if I seen them doing well, if I thought they could be an addition to the team that were asked. And that's how I have 5 out of the men working with me now.
Just approaching them and asking them because you've spotted a wee something in them.
You can see
just
something
a
like
question
again,
in there, sorry, just in relation to who you might target within the club. I was just asked, how about coaches? Would you recommend approaching any current coaches about the roles?
See, the thing about it is, do you see, it's of course, listen, you look at, there's nobody that you won't approach, but see, the thing about it is, the coach, you see, has a team, so he mightn't be able to give you the commitment. It boils down to a regular team of men that you can rely on, at any time for a game, be it midweek or be it the weekend. If you have a coach of a team, if you have a player, if you have a former player, maybe a family man could be looking at us. So there's a lot of things going on. So you need the people that can give you the commitment, and that's the first thing. If you have a coach, by all means ask anybody, but he probably has his team that he wants to look after, maybe 2 trainings a week and maybe a match the weekend, so he mightn't be available here. So you want the lads that can give you the commitment. That'd be my answer to that one.
Perfect, thank you.
Gary, just on, I don't know how you feel about, but you know, some people might think reward, you know, what does she mean by reward? And sometimes I mean just even saying thank you, but is there anything you would do to let your umpires know that you appreciate them?
Oh yeah, listen, the lads would always listen. They'd be well fed, they'd be well watered, they'd always get plenty of gear. I took them a trip away then as a reward after the All Ireland final in 2018. I took them over to Liverpool for a soccer match. So that was just a little token to them as to say thank you. You know, for the thing about it is, Claire, you won't get to the big days without these fellas. So you have to appreciate them, you have to respect them, and look at giving them taking them out for a meal, taking them out for a night out, taking them away on a trip away. Look at, call it bonding, call it whatever you like, but apart from working on the 1 or 2 hours on a match day together, yeah, you still have to appreciate them, and a little token here, a little token there, it means an awful lot to people when they get something like that. And look at it's just appreciating them, it's just respecting them.
Yeah, one thing I just want to pick up on there is something I probably haven't mentioned throughout this, and I don't know how I haven't. You just said something really simple there, respect. And creating a team is all about that. You have to earn their respect and they earn yours. And if you get that respect embedded in your team from an early instance, you know, you're on to a winner. It's really, really important. So it's a really valuable point there.
It's like a family. It's basically it's just like another family, Claire. Really, it's you spend a lot of time with these fellas, you know. So you get to know people, and you get to know who you can rely on. You get to know, look at, as I mentioned at the start, who you can trust. So it's just basically like being part of another family.
Yeah, so it probably makes this even more relevant. No one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it, so you can't do it on your own. As you said, it's an extended family. You have to get everybody rowing in behind you, and the teamwork is so important for that in all elements of it. And you, the leader, you as the referee, must lead this team. So it's important that you have a vision and your team has common missions and values to work towards. That really helps keep them motivated. Possess people skills. Bring your team with you. You know, don't dictate. Bring them with you. It makes everything a lot smoother and easier to create. Have good listening skills. It isn't all about talking. So listen, take the feedback, move forward. And the biggest one is be able to empower teammates. So be able to empower your team to be confident, to say, that was a penalty, Gary on, or that happened, or she's niggling off the ball. You know, you're building that empowerment in your team. It helps it go easier and in a long way. As the leader, that's up to you to bring that all with you.
Yeah.
So your role, and this is important. You must have, I think, for creating a team of officials, an easy way to do it is you clear role for your team. Make sure everybody knows their jobs. And I know that sounds really simple, but sometimes they're the simple things that we forget. Let everybody know what their jobs are, what's expected of them, what time is committed to it, and it'll help the easing of the transition process. Clear guidelines of what is expected of the official. So I need you for this many hours, I need you to wear this, I need you to be prepared properly, I need you not to be looking at your mobile phone, I need you not to be wearing jewelry, I need you not to be chewing gum. You know, it's all, this is what's expected, these are my standards. I need you to maybe have a read through your rules again around the square ball. You know, you're constantly feeding in what the rule is and what you need from them. I need you to watch my back. I need you to watch that quarter of the pitch. You know, what the commitment involved is that we discussed, the process of selection. So somebody asked that earlier and you answered it. You know, I know some referees will have a process of selection, will have, you know, rank their first 1 to 2 umpires that they want to take in, or it might be first come, first serve. But I do think it's really important that you're open with how you select them. So if you do have 10 umpires, you know, you're saying, look, these are the 3 or 4 umpires, and if I'm short, I'm going to use you. You know, I might only need you for two or three games this year. I'm going to use A, B, C, and D. That means nobody feels disheartened. Everybody knows where they stand, and that's really important. It can be difficult conversation, but you have to let people know where they stand in it. Pre-game preparation, I think this is really important. And it's not just about what happens in them 10 minutes before throw-in. I'm talking about what happens from the night before. So
I'm going to collect you at ABC time. This is what we're going to chat about on the way up. Make sure you've slept. I don't want you be coming and me lifting you from the pub, you know. That just doesn't happen. That they've hydrated well, they've slept well, they're eating. These are all big aspects to make sure that their concentration is on, and they expect this in the role they're playing. That they're self-prepared, they're expected to have that self-preparation. So it's important to know that what you need from them. Post-game, what we do post-game, what we do pre-game, these are really important aspects. How we talk, how we debrief. So post-game, are you listening? Are you asking the questions? Do you debrief straight after? Do you have showers and a cup of tea and have a chat? Do you chat on the way home? Do you leave it and not chat until the next day and let everybody gather their thoughts? They're just all things that you as a team have to create what's right for you. What works for Gary Owen's team might necessarily work for my team because of the personalities involved. So know the personalities, know what works within your team, and support it. Always support it along the way. So I'm just wondering there in and around the roles. So Gary Owen, do you give clear roles? Like if I want to be your umpire or you were looking to create me, would you have a chat with me and, you know, say this is what I expect of you before you would take me to a game, or what way do you do it?
Well, see, the thing about it is, especially before the big games, like you're always going to have plenty of games, as I call them, trial runs. You always have plenty of trial runs to see ahead of the big game on the Sunday. So these lads would have been away from, let's say, the county venue, or away from the Breffni Park, or away from the McHale Park or Crow Park, whatever the case may be. So they've had a lot of games under their belt. Like when they turn up on a Sunday, it's not their first day out. So basically, my lads, whether they're working with, it doesn't matter who they're working with, Claire, they're able to, they know their role. If they miss something, let's say on a given day, I will go through, right, okay, maybe we need to tidy this up, or maybe you need to improve your positioning, or maybe you're communicating, you're nodding across isn't good enough, or maybe something as simple maybe as the way you wave a flag, maybe you'd like to maybe tidy that up. So if there's something that I'd always try and tidy up everything, I'd leave no stone unturned. If you want to be the best, you must make sure that everybody working with you is also the best. So you always want to try and improve people. You always want to try to maximize the performance. Basically, you want to be the best as you can be. So if you need to educate, again, look at games are the best ways of education. Again, be it an under 12 game, be it a senior game. It's every team, the two teams on a day, they deserve the respect from a full. I'd always be bringing a full team of officials to under 12, under 14 games. People can't understand why you do it. But it's another run out. It's another day out for maybe four fellas, maybe they mightn't have worked maybe for maybe 2 weeks previous. So every day is a day that you can get your team out and to basically rehearse for when you get the call then for the big day.
It's a really great point. You're always preparing, you're always rehearsing, you know, for what will come. You know, it means when something does challenge you, you know what, something we touched on was trust, and I think we have touched on it. It's creating the right team environment, and that's trust. Trust does that. Build trust and confidence in the group, and that's by having good and open communications. I think manage the group process. That's your job as the referee, to manage them discussions. Don't let them get heated. Make sure that you're reframing them, that they're positive. Big belief in positivity. You know, if you're positive to everyone around you, it becomes positive. You're always looking to the future, and you should be framing it in a positive way. That there's personal responsibility for game preparation, rules, attire and sleep, that they've done their rules refresher, that they're reading their rules, and that you're getting to know each other socially. As we said, they all combat and roll into that trust element and creating the trust in the team. So communication. Communication is the act of expressing ideas, information, knowledge, thoughts and feelings, as well as understanding what is expressed by others. The communication process involves both sending and receiving messages and can take many forms. So it's such a huge area, communication, in terms of building your team of officials and creating it. You can see here, this is Eamon Moore having a chat with his umpires. He's communicating them, he's talking to them, he's obviously asking their advice on something. And that's something regularly you'll see in games, that many a times the referee is down to talking to their umpire. Hopefully you noticed he's at the green flags there. You always talk to your umpires at the green flag as well. So he's doing it right there, and he's in deep conversation. But the power of the communication is the most important when you're creating your team. First of all, you got to know yourself. There's a couple of key points. And what I mean by knowing yourself is you have to have enough self-awareness to know how you like to communicate. And once you've solved that, then you could be a better communicator. Some people like to communicate via text message and don't like to talk to somebody face to face. Some people like to talk on the phone. Some people don't like messages, won't reply to them. So you have to know how you like to communicate first of all, and B, how the people in your team like to communicate, so you can get the balance right. Everybody will have their own preference regarding communication and their own style. Not everyone likes talking or being in the center, and that's also important. Not everybody likes to be center stage. Some people like to talk to you one-on-one. They don't feel comfortable talking in a group, and that's okay. That's just a different way you'd have to communicate with somebody in your group, but you have to keep these scenarios in mind. Everybody's different. They communicate different, they learn different, and they have different communication styles. So it's just how you deal and adjust with it. Creating the right environment, and what I mean by that is, when is the right time to talk to the officials and deal with an issue? When is the right time to bring it up? And how do you feedback and discuss things as a group? When is the right time? Is the right time in the middle of the match? I don't think so. You know, it isn't the right time. You're never going to get anything solved in the heat of the moment. You're dealing with what is happening there and then it's looking back and finding a time to talk and really flesh out any issues you have, or to have set scheduled times for feedback, so that everybody feels like their opinion has been given and you can really take that on board. Building a relationship within your team. Share different stuff as well. Share stuff about your life, your thoughts with them on a regular basis, and remember to listen. You know, if it's just all about the game, maybe you'll lose that wee bit of a relationship building. If it becomes more personal, then sometimes more trust is involved. I can't really stress the next one enough. I think it's really important for anything. Being honest, it creates trust. Being able to give honest feedback and voice your concerns. People don't want the yes man. You have to be able to do it at the right time. So if the referee's in an All-Ireland final and you see something you shouldn't be, and you're mic'd up, you shouldn't be screaming down the mic. It's not the right time. The referee's concentration on the game. But if you see something that you're concerned, at the break of play, at half time, at the end of the match, you should bring it up, because it's only going to improve the referee and improve you. So make sure you do be honest, and you can be honest in a really positive way too, but voice your concerns if you have them. And give the people in your team an opportunity to be honest with you too. Let them know that you really want to push forward. That is outlining your vision and goals as well, that you want them to be honest with you, that you will take feedback, you will take it on board and think about it. And lastly, how do we communicate? Are we using text messaging all the time? Do we need to pick up a phone? Sometimes messages can be lost via text messages, or you know, people take them up the wrong way. Are we better with phone calls? Do we have weak small group meetings regularly? And as I say, this will all build open and honest communication. So Gary, on over to you. How do you communicate with your team? I think that's really important. If you have any tips or the best ways that you do it.
Is this in preparing for a game, or
just in general? Like, how would you communicate with them all the time? How would you communicate in setting up?
I'd always look at it as I've already mentioned. Monday, let's say for example, in preparing for a game, I'll go this way. They get a text at the start of the week. They get back to me as regards their availability. So then the night before each game, I have a WhatsApp group of my umpires, which is very, very handy. So I put whatever, so I know, I go to my book, I know what the four fellas I have, let's say for Sunday. So I'll touch base with the four boys then on Saturday. They'll get a message, we'll organise our arrangements, we'll organise where we're meeting up, and we'll organise what time we're leaving at. So basically that's all done like that there. As mentioned earlier, as regards on a match day, you'd be meeting in good time. So basically you'd be going through, obviously talking through what you expect of them, what area of the field they're going to be in. But yeah, it'd be let's say a text probably on a Monday evening. It'd be probably a WhatsApp, just check in the night before the game, and then it'd obviously be vocally then, let's say on a match day, as what you expect of them on the day. That's the way I'd work it, Claire. Yeah.
Brilliant. So
the one that we like to talk about, facing challenges, and it happens. So I think it's important to look at these challenges and see if we've any tips to help them, or if anybody has any other challenges they want to put out there. So we're all really good at having a set plan. You can see it there, and we're cycling along to the finish line. We're nearly there. And then the next minute reality hits in. There's going to be a lot of different things that are on your road to that finish line that get on the way, and how you cope with it makes or breaks your team. So yeah, but the important thing is you do have to cope with it. You have to learn from them, and every challenge for me is a learning experience. So it's how you reframe that in yourself. So we're going to go through a couple of potential challenges and see if you can give them any tips, Gary, on. So the first one, an umpire doesn't turn up on the day. Has it ever happened to you?
No, thank God. Again, because when you be touching in base with them the night before the game or the evening before, they'll be getting back to you if let's say something come up or something cropped up in the meantime. But again, you'd always have a ready replacement, ready to step in. So thank God that hasn't happened too often. No.
And what about in your early days, maybe, if you were up going to referee a club game? Have you ever you thought you were going to have 4 umpires and only 3 turn up?
Well, in the early days when you were probably only learning the ropes and that, yes, it would happen. You might only maybe land in games maybe with one umpire. So it's yeah. But at this stage, well, you're going to have to look at if you're only traveling with 1, if you're only traveling with 2, and if clubs want to provide on the day, or if, you'd have to use whatever was available to you, but not at the level that we're operating at now. You can't leave anything to chance. You have your team of 4, and you have a good team of 4, and you're ready for action when the day comes.
Yeah, so brilliant. So look, hopefully they would all turn up, but in that given day, especially when you're starting out, if an umpire doesn't turn up on the day, the first thing you're going to look at is the club you're at. Can you get somebody there that's going to give you a hand? But then that has its own challenges that they mightn't be neutral, but sometimes it's better than no help at all. So just be careful with that one. The second one, ensuring the clash personalities are left to the one side and uniting the team. So that's something I'm going to ask you if you ever experienced either, Gary. Have you ever had 2 people that just didn't get on, no matter what you tried? We have that in life sometimes. People just don't get on.
No, thank God, no. Especially when you have your own men, they'll be that used to working together. There's never an issue like that. But let's say if you were maybe at a club game and you had 2 men with you, and maybe some of the clubs could provide somebody on the day. You always know the hometown man is always looking for the hometown decision. So no, thank God, as I said, the more you bring, the less chance you have of getting somebody in that you haven't worked with before. You want to be working with the people that we're going back to trust again, Claire. You want to work with the people that you can rely on, that you can trust. So if you bring 4, you're not getting an A and another arriving on a match day standing at a post. Bring your 4, leave nothing to chance, and then you're not going to get a wild card then in on the day.
Perfect, yeah. And I suppose the other one in that is, if you do have clash personalities, there's a couple of things you can do. Maybe try and rotate them so they're not working together. Maybe have them in different sides of the goal, so they're not on a goal and a point side. They're on opposite end of the pitch if they can't work together. But being aware of that and possibly just having a chat with both of them together and see if you can resolve it. Don't ignore it. Try and resolve these things. This is one I'm sure you possibly have a bit of experience with. A mistake has been made during the game by a member of your team. That is a challenge that could happen. How do you deal with that, Gary?
Well, if it's regards a point or a wide or whatever the case may be in that aspect, you have to listen. You can't. There's no point in taking it down the road and talking about it 2 or 3 days later. You have to deal with it at the time, Claire, on the spot. So if there is an issue, you need to sort it out there on the spot. We want to get the decision right. So if you're linking with your umpires, if you're liaising with your lines people, if the sideline official can do anything for you, score detect system, anything, it doesn't matter. You want to get the decision right on the day. If somebody makes a mistake, listen, we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. But the thing about it is you want to keep them minimal. You don't want to be making too many of them during a game, especially not game-changing ones. So if somebody makes a mistake, you deal with it on the spot and you try and get the decision right. Go back in at halftime and say, right, okay, I wasn't happy with that. Tell them what maybe could have been done different. We don't do it again. Second half is a different half. Next day, if you have somebody that made a mistake the previous day, you go through it again, right, okay. we need to stamp this out, or we need to clear this out from let's say your performance, so it doesn't happen again. Anybody can make a mistake once, but if you make it twice, you're in trouble.
Yeah, talk it out, try and get to the solution. Rather, why was it made? That's what you're looking for. Why did that happen? How can we make sure it doesn't happen again? I don't know if you've had any experience of this, going back to maybe when you started, Gary, on when you can't get anyone to volunteer to umpire for you. So maybe, as you said, you were a Monaghan man for many a year, and you moved to Mayo. Was there any instance that you went out to referee in Mayo and you just couldn't get anybody to come out and umpire for you?
Oh, well, at the start, I was very lucky because the club would have given me 3 or 4 men, reliable men. So like every day you'd be going out, you'd always have 2. So obviously for the senior club games, men's and ladies, you'd definitely have to be going with 4. Some of the games, like especially local derbies and local rivalries, you need your full team. So the club were very good to me at the start. I have to give them credit for that. So they would have given me 3 or 4 good reliable men. And then, as I said, the more games you do, the more you get to know people, especially from other clubs. The more you get to see maybe people working. As I mentioned, you do see somebody maybe could, you know what, I might be able to use this fella. He might be a valued member of my team. So again, the club at the start, and then as time goes on, you start getting to know people. You start getting more familiar with the local clubs and the people within the county and within the clubs. And if you feel that they can add value to your team, approach them and see how it goes. Give them a go.
So it's approaching it, I think, is the big one there. So if you can't get anyone to volunteer to umpire for you, I would say you have to look at why. You have to look at, is it something you're doing wrong yourself? Is it your setup? Is it how you're approaching? Is it how you're communicating what you need from them? Or is it that you just aren't asking enough, or you haven't went to the club and asked them, as you say, for their support? So there is options out there to keep asking and have a look at why you can't get anyone, seeing if you could problem solve from there. And the last one on the potential challenges, Gary Owen, is you and your umpires disagreeing on decision. Has it ever happened to you, and how have you dealt with that?
Oh, it has surely. Well, I wouldn't say it happens regular now, but it does. But I'd always go back to the gut feeling. If somebody has a gut feeling that it's not right, and if 2 umpires can't agree if it's a pint or if it's not a pint, well, you can't give it. You have to be 110% sure of a score before that flag goes up. And if you have any doubts, Claire, you have look at, especially when we're mic'd up in the big days, we're very lucky that we can communicate without going into the post as regular as you might maybe do in a club game. So that's a massive assistance, especially on the big days, Claire. But yeah, look, of course it's happened. Hasn't happened too often, thank God. But if it does happen, look at, as I said, the gut feeling. If you're not sure, if 2 boys can't agree, you can't give the score. End of story. So
go with your gut. You're recommending there, and make sure you're 100% confident with the decision.
99 out of 100, 2 boys will agree. Yeah. But it's the one time one fella might have got caught in a bit of sun. Maybe his position wasn't great. Maybe his angle wasn't good, and just at the end of the day, Claire, I'm not sure. So those are the times that you need to go in and say, but listen, you might have assistance maybe from the lines person that could have agreed. So it's gone back to the point of teamwork. It's how you get the decision right. How do you get there? And that sometimes can take longer than others. But the main thing is that you get the decision right, and you assist whoever on the day.
Brilliant, thank you. So just to wrap up, folks, hopefully you got a good bit out of that there this evening. My key points in the wrap up of tonight is pick the right people. Don't just rush into it. These are people you have to work with. So take your time and pick the right people. Give them clear roles so everybody knows what they actually have to do, what their job is, how they're executing it, what's expected of them. Create the right environment in your team. So create an open and trustworthy environment where everybody's opinion is, listened to, and develop that trust within your group is key. Communicate it well. And these important ones, have fun, enjoy it. That's why people give up their time. Say thank you. It's something small, but people really appreciate it. And as a group, you'll go far. So enjoy that bond as a group. And you always have to leave with, for me, teamwork makes the dream work. So if we're all in it together, we'll get them people up them walls. And use a referee. if you work with them, you'll get to where you want to be in the end. Just take your time through it. So I want to thank you all for this evening. Hopefully you get something out of it. If you have any questions, you can just throw it into the chat there now, and we'll take a couple of questions. And if not, I just want to really thank Gary Owen for his time this evening and for giving it up and coming on board and sharing your knowledge. It's really much appreciated. And just any wrap-up thoughts on it? You know, I must say, he's the type of ref that's always really prepared and has a team with him and prepared going no matter what. So he definitely knows what he's talking about in regards to it. So hopefully you can take one or two wee bits and pieces forward with this evening. Any questions?
One or two questions in there in statements. I know you mentioned earlier that there was already umpire training at national, provincial, and I know there was an open umpire training already provided this year. So when would the next opportunities be, or is there training online?
No. There'll be maybe more opportunities towards the end of the year. We've done this first part of the season. All the training's been complete for umpire lines people. And more than likely, unless a county wants to book it, we probably wouldn't run any more again nationally until either the end of this year, and when the playing season diddles down, or we always run them at the start of every year. Through January, February, there's always a lot of umpire lines persons training.
Yeah, there's also one other good open statement. I see this all as a great challenge. Believe it or not, this is the one area I fear the most, being able to assemble that team. Not a question, just wanted to say it out loud for everyone. But I think it is something that everyone does. It is a challenge for all referees.
It's probably one of the biggest challenges, Grode, and it's something that's put to me all the time, that people find it hard to get a team of officials around them, and I suppose that's why we've done it tonight. You know, it's not easy, but I think if you get confident in yourself, if you create the right environment, if you ask, you know, and then give them that wee bit of support, I think people will come on board with you. And the more games you get, and the bigger games you get, the easier it is to have a team.
Perfect. That seems to be everything.
So thank you very much, folks. And hopefully that's everything, Grode, is it? Okay, so thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll chat to you all soon. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks, folks.